Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another new in the queue product feature. My name is Elizabeth Miller. I'm CEO at Quaint Business Solutions. Quaint Business is a SAP B1 provider who values excellency in customer service as well as knowledge of our B1 application. And part of what we like to do here is always bring you the latest and greatest innovations in the B1 space. So today we have Aaron here from Wisys to talk us through their production order processing as well as some other great features in their WMS solution. Just a friendly reminder, we will have question and answer time at the end. Should any questions arise, just jot those down and we'll be happy to answer those following the presentation. So Aaron, anytime that you're ready, feel free to take over.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me again in one of your series of webinars. It's always great to be able to show people some new and exciting things and maybe some things they didn't realize about what we do here at Wisys. You know, Wisys, if any of you have been to the previous webinar that we had or seen us out in the wild, we are traditionally a warehouse management solution add-on for SAP Business One. We're a third-party add-on, but you know, a lot of the people don't realize we do a lot of different things too, such as production and issuing and receiving goods in production, and the whole production process seamlessly integrated with SAP Business One. So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about and go over with today. I do have a few things, obviously. Wisys has been around for 20 years now. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary. We've been doing WMS and warehousing for that long, and production in the SAP ERP B1 as well as a couple other ERPs that we work in. We've been doing production for quite a long time. This is a very important part of inventory control. This completes the cycle of buy it, make it, ship it. So if you do have production in your warehouse today or kitting or things like that, we would seamlessly integrate into that. So we're going to show you how that happens on a handheld device. Also, we're going to show you a great visibility with our desktop solution. So for those of you that don't work in the warehouse that want deeper visibility into things like production and other things like inventory and sales and purchasing, our desktop application is going to allow us to move through that information and make better business decisions quicker. So we're going to take a look at that Agility desktop today quickly, and then we'll definitely, like Elizabeth said, have some time for questions and questions afterwards. So you guys don't feel lonely or alone out there, that you guys are the only ones that do this stuff. We work with over 600 customers today in the warehouse, and not one of those customers is the same, right? We work in different verticals, different solutions, from food manufacturing to distribution, chemicals, paints, all that jazz. Wisys works with all different companies, helping them succeed in the warehouse. And our experts are there to help you define those unique situations that your company goes through. And I'm going to show you today some standard out-of-the-box functionality, and we're going to keep it really simple so you understand the process and how it relates to SAP. The key to all of this is that we're directly integrated into SAP Business One. So no synchronizing, no separate systems for production, right? We're going to use production orders as intended out of the box in SAP that you might be using today without technology or without automation. We're going to integrate our product directly into SAP. We're certified in both products, which is super important to us, meaning we need to follow the rules that SAP provides. We don't take any shortcuts with our product. We're going to give you that one point of truth with one place where data is stored. So as you guys are doing your reporting, you're doing any kind of informational grabs from the ERP, it's the same information that Wisys is going to use, but we're going to do that at the first touch point. Where these transactions are taking place is where we're going to move inventory, right? So as you're touching and issuing goods and returning goods and receiving goods, you're actually going to be doing this with a handheld device at the point where that product or that transaction is happening. So some of the things we're going to go over, and not to belabor a PowerPoint too long, but we're going to issue goods, we're going to return goods. I'm going to show you a production backfill, which is a really cool feature that Wisys has to be able to create production orders on the fly. So we understand that you have planning that you do with production, but also sometimes in the real world you have to do some production on the fly. Wisys can handle that as well. Our pallet management layer, which I think is going to be one of our future webinars with Quaint, is our packaging layer. So we can create product to a pallet, which allows you to license plate those items in a package rather than create individual pieces. You can group cartons, boxes, containers, and pallets together. So we're going to show you some label printing. Wisys has a very innovative label design software, which will show you that printing of labels as well. And today we're going to do production with a batch controlled item, just so you understand that Wisys does handle serial and batch control within SAP Business One, and obviously in production and having batches and serials are important to a lot of the customers. So we wanted to take time to show that. Again, as I was reiterating, and the one thing I'd really like to take home to this demo is that Wisys provides one point of truth, right? We're not working outside of the ERP, so we're going to really give you that the belief and the believability of the data that you have in your production process, and then that visibility with the desktop. I'm going to relate things back to SAP. I'm going to utilize the handheld device, but I'm also going to use our desktop solution to give you that deeper view or to better analytical view into that information. So I think the last thing I want to go over is that desktop. So it is an Excel style grid format solution that runs on a Windows computer. It's not a scanning solution like we're going to show during the scanning process, but it's a nice lightweight add-on that runs on your desktop. That's going to give you a way to sort, filter, get some traceability from these batches that we're looking at today. So we'll try to fit it all in. So let's get into some demoing real quick. All right, so traditionally, and let me hide this screen a bit. Traditionally, the handheld device is used for a lot of things like, inventory movements, right? So what you may be familiar with already is, receiving raw goods, issuing goods, moving them, transferring them, getting visibility into where items are. That's a traditional WMS does that stuff. For Wisys, we have a production module that's included with our base system. And the really nice thing about being integrated into SAP is that you don't have to do everything we do. You don't have to do inventory counting or do your sales order processing with Wisys. You could simply do things like production if that was the area in your business that you want to tackle first, right? You can do different things because it is integrated with SAP. So in our handheld device, we have many applications that we run. But what we want to do is we want to actually do a make situation here with our product. And I actually want to go into SAP and take a look at some production orders. So I'll go to my menu over here and I'll have production orders. For today's purpose and for today's demo, I'm actually going to produce some s'mores. I think everybody's familiar with s'mores. It's almost the time of year where we get outside and can make some s'mores. But typically, I have a bill of materials of chocolate, marshmallow, and graham crackers here. And those are batch tracked. And we have a production order that I've released to be produced. And again, this all falls in the standard confines of SAP, where I could have this production order based on a sales order or a customer or rules or a project, right? In this case, when we issue goods in a handheld device, we're going to issue goods that are manually issued. Now, you may have route stages and different machines that things go into. That's completely acceptable and a reasonable expectation of Wisys to handle that. But when we backflush an item, these are things that wouldn't be issued by a handheld device, and they would just automatically be backflushed to that production order. So I'm working out in my warehouse, and I am in charge of producing s'mores. I want to take those goods, and I could have a pick list, and I could use the SAP Pick and Pack Manager to create a pick list for these items. And then I want to actually pick, or I could pick just from a production order, but I'm going to issue these goods to this production order. Now, whoops, sorry. So I'm going to move this over so you can see the production order is 266. So, I can scan, I can look up those production orders based on, what I have most recent or to the oldest, or I could even search s'mores as a production. What am I producing today? And you'll see all those production orders I have in the system for that as well, right? I'm actually going to select this production order 266. And you'll see that it validated with SAP that I have an order for s'mores. And it's going to take me to that line item so I could issue these goods to the line item. Again, where I'm touching the material, where I'm counting the material, that I can issue that. So I need 1,333 of each of these products to make my s'mores. So I'm actually going to use a scanner, the scanner on the device, to scan the UPC of the chocolate. And it's going to validate that is a valid item. It's going to validate my warehouse, and it tells me how many I need. Now I can do part now, I can do part later. I could take my time in producing. Maybe I have a bio break or a lunch break. I can fulfill as much as necessary, and I can even, if the rules allow me, to over fulfill that production order as well. And typically, I have moved the product to the production bin based on a pick list. And this is where it's asking me for a batch. So as a batch tracked item, it's going to require a scan of a batch or an enter of a batch. And I can also do a lookup of those batches. So I can actually take a batch of chocolate that I've received, and I can see how many I have of that batch, and I can scan that batch. I can look it up, but I have to validate that I am taking a batch here, and it wants to identify the correct batch, right? So I'm going to actually pull all 1,333 of the chocolate and issue that to that production order. I'll click OK, and it jumps back up to that item level. And the next thing we want to do is marshmallows. Again, we want to take those from the production bin, and we actually want to look up the batch here that we're going to use. So I'll grab a batch of that. And again, 1,333. Again, I don't need to fulfill the entire production order. I could do half if I only have half the goods. But in this case, we are actually telling you exactly what we're producing in this order. So I'm going to scan the bin that's located in. Again, I'm going to look up the batch here that I'm going to use. We're going to take that batch, and we're going to do 1,333. Right, so in real time, I've just issued all those goods to this production order. And if I were to refresh this production order, you'll see that I have issued 1,333 eaches to each one of these. So we know we have everything completed for this. We have the availability to now go on to the next step. Maybe once production is completed, we have the availability to go on to our production receipt. Now, there's a couple of different things I'm going to show you during this production receipt, but let's go through that quickly. So I'm going to scan that same order here, that 266, with my scanner, and I'm going to actually have the availability here to complete the production. But if you notice here, my bin is still the production bin, but you'll see this batch is a little bit different here, right? 0225. This is right now the month and the day, the month and the year, and the actual production order. What's included with Wisys, which is very popular, is going to be our serial lot builder that allows you to pull information from SAP and build your own batch structure within Wisys, right? So creating a finished good, you're probably going to create a new serial or batch number. I just want to show you this real quick because in the manufacturing process, I want to create a batch, and it's going to automate that functionality to create the batch here. So I've asked it to use the month and the year, and actually the lookup column or the table that I wanted was that document number, the production order. So this is going to help me, again, with that traceability all the way through to relief of this product out the door. I can even add or change things, but anything associated with the database, I can add information to that, or static information that's always going to be. So if we have our own unique batch naming system or convention, I can add that to our production process as well. So just a nice feature that a lot of our customers use today. So let's go back to the handheld because we're going to finish that transaction here. I wanted to show you that the serial batch creation can happen. And we're going to build and we're going to make 1,333 s'mores. Now, very easily, that's committed that transaction in SAP. Really cool thing that happens in Wisys is that finished good now has a barcode label that we have created, and we can modify and edit and change. Wisys has a label design software included with it, right? So we can actually create our own label systems with pictures, logos. In this case, very simply, I created a UPC code of the s'mores, and I've also added a barcode for that batch information so that now we can scan the batch as we go along, right? So I've created 1,333 of these at the production level. So I've completed that production. Now, I do have to manually close here the production order, which I'll do. I can also automate that by customizing or tailoring Wisys if you want it to auto close, but most people need to review that before they do it. So we've closed out this production order, we've produced the goods, and we've done that all issuing the handheld device. So I want to show you a little bit more now that we have seen the information in SAP. I do want to take a look at the Wisys Agility Desktop, and that's our desktop application that runs right here on my Windows desktop. And this is a different license than a scanner license. This is going to be a desktop that anybody can run from warehousing, production, sales, and this allows you to get a deeper view into information without being in SAP. And I can even drill into SAP from this solution, but I can make business decisions based on this solution. And I just want to show you a few examples here. I have a grid of our production orders. So in this grid, I can look at all my production orders in my system. You'll see I have a lot of past due production orders. And I can filter by that item. So we're going to filter by s'mores. And these are all my production orders that are associated with s'mores, right? I could have, in this status is all my released orders. And I can group and I can filter and I can see anything that's past due. I can even filter into this last week and see all my things from last week that haven't been completed that have released a production order. I can see things like the start date, the create date of those. Anything in SAP can be realized on a screen here. We even have what's called a production calendar that I could see in a calendar view the production schedule that I have for this week or this month. You know, I have s'mores on the 20th, the 21st, and the 24th, which is all past, but I can see that information right within Wisys Agility Desktop. I can even create orders from this solution. So not only is this a view grid, but this is also a ability to create orders within the Wisys application to allow you to bypass or circumvent SAP to create orders. So not only do you get views here within Wisys, but you also have the ability to do or take action here. So I can actually create a new production order directly from this application here, and it takes you right into SAP to do that right from the Wisys desktop. But I really wanted to give you that kind of clear visibility and different things you could see. Now we created s'mores, right? So in this application as well, if I go into my inventory and I take a look at what's called our inventory workspace, I can actually take a look at those s'mores and where they're located and give me good visibility without using WMS or anything like that. I can actually see where those items are located now that I've created. A really cool thing is I know a lot of you guys really need traceability of lots and batches. So I can actually go see batch availability with bins. And again, I can sort and filter out these s'mores, but I really just wanted to show you, here is that order from, whoops, I clicked a little ahead. Here is that production order that we just completed here, 1,333, the batch status release. Now I could have that in an on hold situation. It actually tells me where the production bin is. But now I have a batch that we created using the Wisys batch creation, and I could drill into that batch directly into SAP, and I could actually see the transaction report of this batch, right? So from now on, from when I've created that batch, I can actually see those finished goods. Now, if I drill into s'mores even further, I can see those items that I have that created the s'mores. I could also see their batch traceability, and that also would be located within the Agility desktop here of Wisys. So all my s'mores batches and where they're located, I could have the expiration date, the manufacturer batch date, all the information that you have in SAP can be realized in the grid of Wisys Agility Desktop. So really cool tool. Just think of people in sales or customer support that need to track this for a regulator or a customer or a vendor. You know, they can get really good visibility into all things related to SAP without being in SAP and filter and sort and be able to take action within this product. A couple other things I do want to kind of show you, and we talked about at the beginning, is our production backfill. So we all understand, we have production orders in the system. I can very easily complete those orders with Wisys, but real world cases, you might need to produce something on the fly for a customer immediately. Maybe you don't have a production order, or the person in the office isn't there and you want to create more of these items. We have what's called the production backfill. And what this does is it takes your parent item, and I'm going to take a different item without batch, and I'm going to create this parent item, warehouse 05, and I'm going to create that at the production bin, and I'm going to make 256 here. So what I'm doing with one easy form in Wisys, without having a production order, without a lot of manual input prior, is that I can continuously manufacture as I want to manufacture from the warehouse using a production backfill. And when I click that save button, it's going to print me labels, right? We have that label design software, and this is just a standard UPC label that I can put on the finished product. But in relation to SAP, which I'll go into, is that I will close this out and I'll go to production orders. But I'm going to go to my most recent production order. And I have created that new production order on the fly, closed it, issued goods, received the goods against it, created the product without having to use SAP to do that by using just the handheld. So you may have some questions about this, but it's a really nice feature that Wisys has where you could continuously manufacture at the warehouse level rather than at the SAP level. Now, one of the things I want to tease for our next webinar is going to be pallets. So everybody talks about SSCC codes, pallet IDs, or license plating. We can produce pallets right from the handheld device. So we can do the same issuing goods, receiving goods, but I can actually create a palletization of all those goods. So I'm actually going to create a pallet, and I'm going to create some s'mores on there. And I know on each pallet, 120 boxes of s'mores can go on there. Oops, I have to actually put it in the bin that I'm going to first. And we're going to do a batch. Oops, that's not a batch, Aaron. That's the item code. Let's clear that out. Sorry. Let's do this again. New pallet for order 267. That's another production order we have in the system. I'm going to scan the bin. I'm going to scan the batch. And we're going to put 120 on a pallet. So instead of issuing goods to just a general eaches or box that you have, I have now created a pallet with a single scan that I can produce to. Now that pallet ID contains all the information like batch information, right? So I no longer now, once I've created this pallet or this package layer, I can now move all this product and see what's on that pallet without multiple scans. Let me just show you that real quick because it's really a powerful tool for velocity in the warehouse. If I actually do my pallet view, and I believe that was pallet 1197, you can see here that pallet's located in the production bin by a single scan. The pallet's located in the production area. It contains s'mores, and there are 120 s'mores cases, boxes on that pallet. Again, this could be a carton, this could be an inner pack, master case, or even a container load we use this product for. But I can even click on the serial batch information and see all the batches associated with that. So as we relieve inventory, as we do sales, the information is stored in a pallet. So I do want to go over pallet management. This is a very unique feature to Wisys that is different than many other WMSs you see there, but you can create from production to pallet as well. Last but not least, you can, in production, you can actually do production disassembly and receive from some disassembly. So some people break down items in a production order. We handle that as well. We do production return too. So if you over issue goods to that, you can return goods to stock, things like that. That's all the generalized production process in SAP handled by Wisys directly on a handheld and getting visibility in the desktop. So I want to give you a little tease of that. If you want to get some more information or actually work through your workflow process, Elizabeth and I and Lauren will be happy to talk to you about that and run those situations by you. We really have to scope out these processes and understand how you guys do it to help you become better, faster, and more efficient in the warehouse. So thank you guys today. We'll go back to we'll throw it back to Elizabeth here if she wants to chat for a second and take any questions. If we have any questions out there, I'm happy to take questions.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron, so much. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask or venture out there for Aaron?
Are there any device or hardware requirements, Aaron?
It's Android based, so a lot of the people in the production area typically like a tablet, right? A hard mounted tablet that could sit in the production area, maybe next to some machinery. But it's Android based, so depending on your situation, there's different devices that we can always talk about. That whether it's long range scanning, short range scanning, or freezer grade material. As long as it's Android, the product Wisys will work there. It's really based on the need in your warehouse. Good question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and what you saw today is a standard traditional warehouse device. A lot of the new devices that I'm selling are the cellular phone type, right? Where it's just a smaller handheld, but they do have actual barcode scanners on them, which is very important depending on what you're scanning and where.
Any other questions? Okay, well, great. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and check out our email announcements for our next product feature, as well as other things going on at Quaint. Don't forget to go out to our website, quaintbusiness.com. We do have a resource tab with great information and follow up on these webinars. Thank you again for joining us. Aaron, thank you as always for your great presentation, and we'll see you all next time.